Okay, common potentiometers. Position sensors, pressure sensors, airflow sensors. A potentiometer is a variable resistor. The most common thing is a TPS. It tells the PCM the position of something, like a throttle position sensor, mass airflow, not mass, vein airflow sensor, or map sensor. Here's a potentiometer. Unlike the thermistor, which is this one, a thermistor is 2 wires, 1, 2. A potentiometer is 3 wires, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now, the thing I want you to understand on this potentiometer, it does a voltage drop on this third wire, this middle wire. So I have 5 volts going through the resistor, has the voltage going through this resistor being dropped. By the time we get to this end, it's near 0 on the ground side. This middle wire is doing a voltage drop across this resistor and feeding that signal back to the PCM. Example now. Remember, let's say this is representing a TPS for right now. We're thinking this potentiometer TPS for this example. If this is 5 volts here and I'm near 0 here, if I got this wiper arm, you see here in the middle of that resistor, that means I lost 2.5 volts going down this resistor. So this middle wire is going to read the 2.5 volts that's left on this side. So I will read 2.5 volts. If this wiper arm was down here, say going this way, right, near the bottom of this, I would drop all this voltage. So this wiper arm was down here, it would be like 0.5 to 1 volt. And to the PCM, that would be a closed throttle. Here, I forgot to say, here, to the PCM, that throttle is open halfway. If that wiper arm was down here, pointing towards this end, to the PCM, that's a closed throttle. Like the car might be idling. This bottom one here is pointing up. Only lost a quarter of the, see from here to here, you can see right here. Only dropped a quarter of the voltage. So I'm seeing about like 3.5 volts to the PCM. That's wide open throttle. Or high voltage reading. So that high voltage reading indicates to the PCM that throttle is open wide. Now, if I lose, let me see, if I lose my ground here on this potentiometer, either here or here, same picture. If I lose the ground, open circuit, this signal wire will see, take a guess at it. If this wire was cut or this ground was broken, what would be the reading here? Let me give you 10 seconds. No, 5 seconds to figure that out. Okay, if this ground wire is open, this signal wire would read 5 volts because there will be no drop. There will be no drop on the circuit. It will just see the 5 volts. It will be 5 volts to this whole position because it had no ground to drop the voltage. If this reference wire was cut here, my signal wire here will be 0. If this wire was cut or this wiper was broken internally here on this line, my voltage feedback on this line to the PCM will also be 0. So let's review this again. A potentiometer is a 3-wire sensor, power, signal, ground. The wiper arm represents the position of, let's say, the TPS in this case. Has voltage travel through this resistor, is being dropped. This wiper arm is doing a voltage drop across this resistor. In the middle wire, like you see it now, If this was a TPS, this would represent half throttle. If this wiper arm was up like here, you see here, I'm only losing a quarter of the voltage. I will read 3.75 volts because I still got to go through the rest of this resistor. If this wiper arm was pointing towards this end and I dropped all the voltage going down, meeting this arrow this direction here, I will be anywhere like a half volt to a volt, indicating a closed throttle. If I lose my ground, or open circuit this ground wire, my signal wire will read 5 volts because it's not dropping no voltage because you have no ground. If my reference voltage was cut here, my signal back to the PCM will be 0. If my wiper arm, all this wire was cut, this is good, but my wiper wire is cut, or my signal wire is cut, my voltage back to the PCM will also be 0 volts. I just said it's a 3-wire sensor with potentiometer. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Have any questions, hit me up. Peace.